This is Alex J. Aguiar, and just in case you're a little bit confused, this is Pod With Me. Today's guest has faced many obstacles. She tells us how she survived and what she learned can save your life. Get ready, because the pod starts now.
When I met my husband, and at that point he had only had his first heart attack, and then he had the second one, and then the third one. And people said to me, "What are you, crazy?" But the sick part is, if there's a doctor on this podcast listening, and they really want to make money, think about how dedicated and loyal their patients would be if they were told there's another way.
Let's get a sound check.
Are you ready to pod?
Let's go.
Ready.
Brenda Roher, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
I am truly amazed at how many obstacles you've had in your life and you keep going, and also your profession. I mean, it must feel great because you actually save lots of lives. Tell everyone out there what you do, Brenda.
So I am actually called a nutritionist, not a nutritionist, but a nutritionist.
And what is the difference?
Good question. So I am involved with DNA testing for customized nutrition. Okay. So the difference is that we are able to make you a customized plant-based formula, which is a supplement of so many different plants that all actually give your body the proper support that it actually needs based on your own DNA. So there's no more guessing, there's no more blind nutrition. So imagine that whole concept of going to the store and buying your vitamin D and your vitamin B, and what are you taking? How much do you really need, and why are you taking those supplements? So we're able to actually make you that whole formula based strictly on what your body actually requires, down to the micromilligram.
You're taking off those blindfolds.
Exactly. And it's been an amazing, amazing journey.
Do doctors offer this?
Some do. We actually are able to rep it ourselves, or we can actually bring it to doctors' offices who can rep it themselves. We have a program where doctors can even private label the product because it's that great of a product. I mean, just imagine, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I know I inherited the genes for healthy inflammatory response. And I went from a size 16 down to a size 10 in a year's time without changing my diet, because I was already a healthy eater. I was already exercising every day, but the inflammation was stopping my body from actually working properly. So I also inherited the FTO genes, which are your healthy weight management genes. So now my body was getting the proper supplementation, giving it the support that it needed. And within a year's time, my inflammation went down by 80%. My chronic pain went down by 80%. And then I lost just shy of 40 pounds.
Brenda, I guess that's proof you are what you eat, huh?
I have to tell you, not only are you what you eat, but you also are what your parents made you.
So tell me, what is the process to customizing your health?
So you go right onto my website and you order your DNA testing kit. My website is euphoriascience.com/healthy cells. And Euphoria is with an F. So it's UFORIA. And you order your kit, and in the kit is a cheek swab. Simple swab of your cheek. You pop it back into the HIPAA compliant envelope. It gets sent off to our lab in Texas. And about 2 weeks later, you get a 35-page report that tells you what genes we've tested.
You would think that these doctors will give you a heads up.
What you've inherited from your parents.
That's proof of the saying, you are what you eat.
Breakdown each gene with a description of what illnesses are associated with that and what plant-based products they're going to be putting into your compound. And then at the very end, you actually get a list of everything that's going to be put into your nutrition. We actually do 5 different tests, but I don't even talk much about the ancestry one because that's never really been something that was important to me. We do a wellness test, which is the most popular. We do a weight management test where we actually test 20 different genes specifically about healthy weight management. And then we can also customize the formula just for that, where you'll get hormone support, you'll get thyroid and adrenal support based on your DNA for weight. We also do a skincare report, and we do a sports and fitness report. So imagine finding out, like, I'm 5'9". I've always been very strong and like I said, into weightlifting and cardio. And I learned that one of the reasons I'm always injured is because I push too hard, because I actually have low muscle strength. But I don't ever believe that, because I got to keep going and going and going. So I always get injured. I also inherited the genes for ligament injuries, which I've done that. So imagine breaking it down to what your body is capable of doing physically. And then we can recommend different types of exercises based on the findings.
So how long have these tests been around?
So the science behind this has been 25 years in the making. And about 12 years ago, it was for the elite, very wealthy. And then the owner of our company, Terry LaCour, came in and said, no, this needs to go to the masses. And he got the patent on the technology of how we do the customization, the software. And he actually has several other patents. And the most important one also is the Nutritionator that we call Eugene, what actually the machinery that makes our nutrition. Because we get it fresh every month. It's not like you get a 6-month supply or a 1-year supply. Your customized nutrition is done monthly for you and gets shipped to you. So there's no shelf life.
Well, that's fantastic, Brenda. Now, how did you end up customizing people's health?
So about 7 years ago, my husband had his second massive stroke after also suffering from 4 heart attacks and 15 stents. And it was only 4 months after our wedding. And I kind of collapsed. You know, I went into that robotic mode where you have to just do what you do. I sold his house. I sold his businesses. I rehabilitated him. And all along, not realizing what was happening to myself. And then we actually even transplanted ourselves from New York to Florida because he couldn't handle the New York climate anymore. And it was me. I'm the man of the house because he can't lift anything more than 10 pounds because as a stroke patient, which most people don't know this, if you lift anything really heavy, you have a higher risk of stroke. So we learned that the hard way. So
you would think that doctors would give you a heads up, huh?
You would think so, right? But no, they didn't tell us that after the first stroke. And then we learned that with the second stroke as he lifted like a dumbbell. And what it does is it breaks off the plaque in your arteries. And where does the plaque go? Sometimes right into the brain. And that's what caused his second stroke. So by the time I turned around 2 years ago, I've had 5 herniated discs. I was overweight, completely inflamed, and every diet I tried wasn't working. I mean, and I tried everything. 5 years on Weight Watchers, keto, paleo. I tried Whole30. I even did HCG injections. I mean, I'm telling you, desperate to lose the weight because I was not happy and I was uncomfortable. So, and then on top of that, he wasn't well. You know, 2 years ago, he suffered another stroke, which was a very minor one, but they're repeating. They just don't want to seem to stop coming. So I've been going to chiropractors and functional neurologists, and the acupuncturist I was going to finally said to me, we've got to start running more tests on you because you're getting worse by the day. I can't even get the needles into you. So we did a whole food sensitivity test. I did do the inflammation reducing diet by going by, the foods. That didn't help. So we did a hormone panel, and she says to me, well, you're in full-blown menopause. I'm like, well, I'm really not. So my hormone test is telling me how messed up my body was, because for my report to show that I'm in full-blown menopause and my body to not be really means I'm that messed up. The other key thing was we found out when we tested my inflammation levels, a healthy number is 15 to 150, and I was at 214. Yeah. So, I mean, you could literally like put your finger into my arm and the indent would stay there for like 60 seconds. So now I go on my journey. I have this information. How am I fixing this? Nobody has the solution. And they're giving me all these supplements and I'm gagging. I'm taking 25 pills in the morning, 10 at lunch, 25 at night. I'm going for broke because this stuff was costing me a fortune and I'm getting worse. What I did learn, Alex, too much of a good thing is not necessarily so good for you. So I start looking into DNA testing and I'm looking at all the companies and I have everything spread out, spreadsheets and this and that. And they all do the same thing. They take your test, they give you the information, and then they give you supplements. But I'm already on all these supplements. So what's going to be the difference? I needed a differentiator. And then I found it. The only word that differentiated Euphoria Science from everybody else was customization. So I said, all right, I'm game. Let me try it. So I go ahead and I order the test for both my husband and I, because we're going to do this together, obviously. After the first 4 months, because it takes 4 months for your cells to replicate and come back in a healthier fashion, my inflammation number went from 214 to 129. My cholesterol dropped 13 points. After the next 4 months, it went from 129 to 108. And the cholesterol dropped, I think, again, like another 6 points. And so I'm in an okay range. Well, I went in November after being on the product about 13 months. My number is now 43. Now, if you think that's good, are you ready? I'm really going to blow your mind. Imagine my husband, okay? Cardiac, stroke patient, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and diabetes. We have now taken him off of 2 out of his 3 blood pressure medications, statin drugs, his oral diabetes medication, and not one, but both of his antidepressants that he was on. So what is he left with? He's left with Plavix and aspirin because of the stents. Okay, that we know we can never take that away. He is on 1 blood pressure medication, and he still does take a weekly injection for diabetes and a weekly, bi-weekly injection for the cholesterol. But his cholesterol was too low. It was 128. That's why we had to take him away from statins, which I was thrilled to do. And he's out of the brain fog. Could you imagine all those meds I just told you he was on and the side effects that go along with them? Get the money. We're talking thousands of dollars and,
Unfortunately, prescriptions are money makers, huh? Now, what message would you have for those people out there on so many of these meds?
Advocate for yourself, because the doctors, I love them and there's a need for them, but like his doctors won't even look at what I'm giving him. They're like, nope, we have to write him a script. And I'm like, and it's heartbreaking to me because I had one of his doctors look at it. She goes, wow, he's on some great stuff. He's on glutathione, he's on milk thistle, he's on all those mushrooms. This is great stuff. I said, so what do you think? You want to look at the DNA test? You want to maybe carry it and share this with your patients? Oh, no. But the sick part is, if there's a doctor on this podcast listening and they really want to make money, think about how dedicated and loyal their patients would be if they were told there's another way. Because you could do this naturally. And I'm not saying that my husband's ever going to come off the rest of his meds. I don't know. I mean, maybe if he actually ate like a diabetic, but he doesn't. But the truth is, there are some people, type 2 diabetes is self-inflicted. With the proper eating and exercise and supplementation, you can reverse it. The functional neurologist looked at my last set of blood work, which was done in November, and he just looked at me, he goes, most women or most people your age are good when their kidneys are running at a 70 to 80% function, because that's considered good because you're at 100% function. Your liver enzymes are perfect. And we've kind of been teetering with that for a while, like they weren't so great. He's like, your organs are so healthy. He's like, it's amazing. And my adjustments in my spine are holding.
And what do these doctors have to say when you show them the results?
Good for you. That's it. It's exactly. In fact, I went to the doctor just this week for my physical. That's why we had done my blood work up. But by the time I finally got to her, it was finally this week. And she's like, so did you take your flu shot? No. Well, why not? I've never taken one. Have you ever had the flu? No. She goes, do you get sick? Well, look at my records. You've been treating me for 4 years. Have I ever come in here sick? No. So she's like, and what do you take? And I'm like, just my supplements. Do you want to see what I'm taking? No, that's okay. I know it's good. It's so frustrating to me. Even my daughter's a licensed social worker working in a hospital. And she has not even taken the next vaccine for COVID. She's like, yeah. She's like, no, I do things naturally. And she's on her nutrition, and this has been the healthiest winter she's had so far since I put her on her nutrition. I read a book many years ago, and it's called The Skinny Bitch. Kind of great title, right? And the first paragraph has been stuck in my brain ever since. And it basically starts out saying, a cow gives birth to a calf, and it's about 99 pounds. And in the first year of life, all that calf eats is the mother's milk, and is expected to go to 1,000 pounds by its first birthday. Why, in God's name, are we feeding our children cow's milk?
Wow, when you put it like that, it's so eye-opening. Most people believe in the system so much, and it just feels like they're walking around with blindfolds on.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I will tell you the truth. When I met my husband, and at that point he had only had his first heart attack, and then he had the second one, and then the third one, I am guilty of saying, oh my God, give him more meds, save him.
Because you didn't know better.
I didn't know better. And as time went on, and he was getting sicker and sicker on all the meds. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I just started, I kind of fell into the functional neurology. I was on a cruise with two other couples, and my back was so bad that we were in a black tie situation and in the captain's lounge, and all I wanted to do was lay on the floor. I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit. The pain was just brutal. And one of the women that I was with happened to be a doctor, and she says, the minute we get off the ship, I am making you an appointment with, this guy Shannon that rented a room in her office. She goes, he is going to fix you. And from that point on, that is when I believed in holistic care.
Brenda, besides the love you have for your husband, how did you find the strength to deal with all his health obstacles?
I'm a strong person. My mom is a strong person. I've been through a lot in my lifetime. I've had major reconstructive knee surgery when I was a kid. We didn't know what the outcome was going to be with that. And I learned a lot from my mom that you just do what you got to do. You almost go like into a robotic mode, and you just conquer, and you just keep going, and you keep going. And the stronger you get, the better you're going to get. So I kind of went through that. And then, later in life, I had my children, and I was in a marriage that wasn't so great. So it's kind of a funny story. I did hypnosis when I was 39. And that gave me this amazing drive and this sense of calmness that was so unbelievable that it got to a point that I was like so even keel that nothing fazed me unless I wanted it to. I was totally in control. And then I asked for my divorce for my 40th birthday. And things got a little crazy for a while. And I had to focus on my kids. I'm a mom. It's not about me now. It's about them. So I had to get them through that. Then I meet this wonderful man, and I fall madly in love with him, and he's got health issues. And people said to me, what are you, crazy? What do you need this for? And I'm like, I wish I could just find that switch in my heart that says, off and run away, but I can't. And I've had an amazing, romance with him, and we're together 14 years. And you know what? You just do what you got to do. I mean, to watch him laying there, and not be able to feed himself or move is heart-wrenching. But you love him so, what else you do? You do it. I mean, yeah. And the problem was, what was happening to me while I was going through all this, I was falling apart on the inside because I was neglecting myself. Once in a while, we had a friend that would call me at like 10 o'clock in the morning, And he'd say to me, I get out of work at 3 o'clock. I'll be there at 3:30. Make yourself a nail appointment, a massage. I don't care, but I'm coming to sit with him and get out and go do something for you.
Ah, that's a friend.
That was a friend. Yes. Mm-hmm. So I've learned that you just give. I'm a very giving and loving person. And even any of my friends would tell you that if they need somebody, they know who to call because I'm always there.
Let me tell you, your husband must be blown away by all that you have done.
He is so wonderful. He loves me so. I mean, like he says, the world would be totally devastating without you. He treats me wonderfully. He's a fantastic son-in-law. He's a phenomenal stepfather. My kids adore him. I mean, I think we were talking offline earlier when my son bought a house a few months ago. He only wanted my husband and I to be sitting at that closing with him. How close they are. He's very appreciative, and there's nothing he can't do for me. I mean, he just wants to give me everything I ever want.
You've been through so many obstacles, but you never gave up. Looks like you always saw the big picture.
I saw the big picture. I knew that I wasn't happy. And I was married for 18 years. That's a long time. And it was kind of bizarre, but I was kind of planning it, but I just didn't know when it was going to happen. And then boom, it just kind of like fell out of my mouth one night. And I said, oh, I'm going to go with this. And it was tough. He was not happy. It was one of those Lifetime movies.
I have to say, you're definitely a Lifetime movie.
Oh, you have no idea. It is a Lifetime movie. But I will tell you, Alex, that when my son bought this house 2 months ago, and he said something to me like, Dad would like to be here, but I'm not having him. And I said, Brandon, this is a once in a lifetime experience. Your father should be here with us. Because regardless of anything that we've gone through in the past 15 years, we are your parents. I'm okay with it. You invite your father. And he fought me. He's like, I'm not doing that. I can't have the two of you here. And I said, I'm fine. I've always raised you to do the right thing. Go call your father right now and tell him you want him here.
Are you sure you didn't want to show off how good you looked?
And you know what? He came up to me, and we both looked at each other, and I said, this is not about us. This is about him. And it's going to be the first of many occasions. The kid's only 27. I mean, he's going to get married and have children, and we're going to have to do that. So it's the right thing to do.
This is like great because so many parents think that kids won't grow up right if they get a divorce. And you're actually proof that it's all about the parents' mindset.
Well, the key, we went through some hard times. I will tell you that. But the key is, and I know this is really, really hard, but don't badmouth the ex to the kids. Don't put the kids in the middle. It's not fair to them. It's not their divorce. And it was hard. At some points I had orders of protection for me and the kids. And to always try to be positive, until this day. My kids are adults. They're in their 20s, and I'll say, your father's not well. Did you call him? It's a holiday. Go call your father. It's your father's birthday. Oh, thanks, Mom. I forgot. It's just the mindset. We have a heart. I look at, there was a time in my life that I was in love with that man. And regardless of what happened between him and I, it's not their fault. And I'm grateful for a lot of our memories. We had a lot of good times. And you know what? Now you move forward, and now I'm with this phenomenal man, and I couldn't be more in love. And things happen for a reason. And, people are seasons. The seasons change. People come in and out of your life for different times, for different reasons. And it's what you make of it. At this point, I just want to keep sharing with everybody about how to be healthy so that you can appreciate your life. My husband and I keep saying that one day we're going to write a book that says you can't make this up.
So Brenda, so many people out there are lost because they receive the wrong information and they fall into a vicious cycle, right? What message would you have for them?
Knowledge is power. Find out what your body actually needs and give it the proper support. Because once you have the knowledge, then it's easy sailing from there.
Thank you, Brenda, for sharing your story on the pod. But before we go, there's one more thing. Don't fall off the pod.
That's a wrap.
Hey, podheads, you can listen to the pod on any podcast app. And if you want to get a little bit more personal, you can download our app. That's right, the pod has its very own app. And if you made it this far, that means I don't have to say, don't fall off the pod. If I don't have to say it, why did I say it? Can somebody...